live. Someone can let me know when we are. I'll just play something for now. What should we do? You're gonna hear some dogs barking apparently. Actually, yeah. Oops. And right. Someone can leave me a comment if you can hear me or not. Be helpful. In this video, I just wanted to talk about something which I'd seen the other day and just discuss an idea. Basically, I was watching That Pedal Show, and Mick said, I think it was a review of like Blues Breakery pedal stuff, and he said something like they got 200 drive pedals, and that made me think that's a lot of pedals. So if you just do like the math on that, I guess for a normal person who wasn't getting sent free gear, 200 drive pedals would be what, £20,000 worth of stuff, maybe. So that seems to me like that's quite a lot of money to have invested in gear. And then I had a conversation over email. Someone else was asking about how you might spend $2,000 if you had that. Feel free to jump in with any comments or whatever. So I've thought, well, what do I have pedal wise? How much gear do I have, or pedals? How much money's tied up in that, and whether I think that's a good idea or not. So first of all, I've got the HX Stomp and I've got a Helix. So that's two big things. I've obviously got the Iridium. Now, part of the reason that I have all those is that I can create content with them that people are interested in, possibly, or hopefully. And also the pieces of gear that I like. I've got a Kemper over in the back there, which again is the same sort of thing. It's a tool which I use to create with. I guess I'm not really a massive pedal guy, but I just wanted to do this as an idea of, is it worth spending all your money on this stuff? So, drive pedals. Let's start with drive pedals. So, Tube Screamer, my main Tube Screamer thing that does a Tube Screamer is the Behringer Tube Overdrive TO800. Now, that's a 20 quid pedal. And the reason I have that is because I think it's useful to show people that you don't necessarily have to spend crazy money on a tube overdrive. Not on a tube overdrive, on a Tube Screamer to get that thing. Obviously, there's a whole industry now of pedals which are essentially just a Tube Screamer. Do they sound that much different? Well, no, not really. I had a Dualist, which is obviously the complete opposite scale of this. That's a £350 pedal, and I've done comparisons. So I think that's also why I like to keep this around, is because I can then compare it to other pedals, and then someone can watch those videos and go, well, actually, there's not a big enough difference for me to justify that purchase. So similar sort of thing. I've got a Boss DS1 which I like to just keep in case people want me to do demos of stuff. I think it's a useful pedal just to have around. Um, I've got this, which is a clone of a Wampler Euphoria, which I never use, but I can't really sell because it's not really worth anything. I've got my Keeley Tone Workstation, which is probably one of my favourite pedals, but that's all. This is basically why I sold the Dualist, because it does both of the things that the Dualist does. It's got a blues breaker and a tube screamer and also a compressor. So does all of the Dualist does and a little bit more. One of my more expensive pedals, but kind of worth it, that one. So that's the Keeley Tone Workstation. Other drive pedals I've got the Boss SD1 and the SD1 Waza. I bought those specifically because they were half price at a local music shop, and I wanted to see if there's a big difference between them. I thought that might be slightly useful for people to know. Hopefully that was useful. You can find it on my channel, but I don't know whether I'll keep. I think the Waza I have got up for sale somewhere, eBay I think it is. So that, to me, I don't know whether I'll bother keeping that pedal around. The SD1 I quite like, but again, I've got enough drive pedals where I probably won't keep that around. What else have I got? I've got the Revival Drive, the Origin Effects, and one fuzz pedal. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, and a Riverside I've got down there. So that's 9, 10 drive pedals. So I think that's definitely too many drive pedals, I think, for me anyway. So I think this is the danger with the gear stuff, is that you can get into this cycle of buying stuff, and probably what's the overlap? A lot of it does the same stuff. You let me know what you think about that. Also, if you want to shout out what pedal combinations you might want to see me do, I'll probably just do some live playing in a sec. So yeah, that's the drive pedals. Then delay wise, I've just got this, which is a super cheap Moon Pockfurt, and that does a reverb and a delay, which is the reason I bought that. There's plenty of other expensive pedals that do it, but that's fine for me. And then I've got the Strymon Volante, which is obviously completely the other end, expensive delay pedal that does reverb and delay. That to me is the kind of combination of gear that I'd like to have. I'd like to have one cheap version of the thing and also maybe one expensive. But to me, yeah, my delay gear stuff, it's not too cluttered. It's just two different things, and I like that. I have one chorus pedal, which is the Boss Super Chorus, and I probably won't bother buying any more chorus pedals because I don't really like the sound of chorus in general, but this is really subtle, so it's okay for me to keep that one around. I have two freeze type pedals. I've got the Game Changer Plus, which I like because it's got a blend and like a rise and tail thing, and also as a silent pedal, so I keep that. I've also got the EHX Freeze, which I keep on a board because I find that useful. I've got a Ditto looper and this deluxe looper from Donna, which is like a cheap version. Yeah, there's a stereo one, so I keep that around just in case I want to chuck that at the end of a board, because my Ditto is actually on my larger board. Compressor wise, I have one compressor, which is the Origin Effects Cali 76. And what is that? I've got one boost pedal, which is the Thorpe FX Heavy Water. So in general, what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 pedals, I think. Probably feels like too many anyway. So that's the thing. I don't really want my channel to just be like a plugging random pedals thing. I really want it to be like a useful, either it's useful pedal pairings or it's showing you a cheaper alternative to something, not just the most expensive thing that you can find from the people that have money to spend on marketing. That's the idea. And I guess mainly playing. So anyway, here's a little bit of Strymon Volante stuff. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything that they want to drop in there about favorite pedals, go for it. I'll try and get to them in a second, but this is some playing in the meantime because no one's dropped any questions yet. That's gone. Right. Yeah, anyway, so my thoughts in general, I think if you've got two pedals that do the same thing, maybe one of them could be a cheaper version, one could be a more expensive version. If there's too much overlap in all of your gear, it doesn't really seem to add much, in my opinion. Just end up with quite a lot of gear and quite a lot of money sunk into it. And I think it does get to be like an addictive kind of thing, which is why we call it GAS, gear acquisition syndrome. And it's a trap that I think quite a lot of us will fall into. And it's not really helped by endless viewing on YouTube of different bits and pieces. But I think it's important to try and keep that in mind. Is there that much difference between the things that I'm getting? Maybe if you've got 2 or 3 delay pedals, it's fine. It's not a problem if you can afford it all. But it also doesn't hurt to have like a cheap and expensive version of a thing. Or maybe there's only one fuzz pedal that you've tried that you thought, yeah, I'll keep that. For me, that's the Thorpe FX Veteran. And that for me has ended that kind of investigation, to be honest, because I don't feel like that fuzz pedal does what I need it to do. I don't need to keep going down that route of finding endless more fuzz pedals. Similarly for the Keeley Tone workstation, I know that that's got a Tube Screamer and a Blues Breaker on it that I dig. That sort of ends that Tube Screamer journey in a way until something else might crop up, and that might catch my fancy at one stage at a weak moment. But try and keep in mind that this stuff is meant to inspire you, I guess. And so if there's a pedal sat in the corner which you've not played for ages, then pick it up and play it. Or if you're endlessly scrolling through YouTube looking at stuff, maybe so what I was doing the other day was I just thought, well, I'll take one pedal and put it through my amp, and see what happens. And I find that can be quite a good way of getting you out of that gas feeling. Someone's leaving a comment, so I better look at this. Yeah, exactly. So that's the point, I think. Yeah, that's the point, I think. So Hieronymus has just said, if gear makes you happy, helps you make music, it's fine. It can also become counterproductive. I think that's the point. If you can afford lots of nice gear, that's great. But then, like I said at the start of the video, if you've got 200 drive pedals, is that really doing much for you? How much overlap is there? If you can afford 200 drive pedals, that's awesome. Probably most of us, like myself, or I'm assuming most of us, don't really have endless money. And like I just said at the start of this video, I think I've got 10 drive pedals here. Realistically, I'd be happy with 3 maybe if I needed to. I mean, I've got one drive pedal there, the Keeley Tone Workstation, that does pretty much all that I want from a drive pedal. So maybe if I think it's also good to have like a circulation of gear, like you might have certain things that you like to use, but maybe sometimes it's good to try something new, and that can either go one or two ways. It's like, oh, I'll introduce that to my rig, or oh, that just reminds me that what I've already got I like. So yeah. They say Enion. I say, how am I going to pronounce that? Right in a way that I can pronounce it. Legging red. Enion Haseo. I'm terrible with languages. I'm not even good at English. Yeah. I guess what's the question is, what point does gear become counterproductive? I guess that's a different question for everyone, but what I try to do is work with a piece of gear, and either it inspires you or it doesn't. So the main thing that I'm trying to do is create music. So if it's getting in the way of me creating music, either because it doesn't work or because I don't like the sound of it, then I don't keep it. And there are examples of pedals that do that for me. Okay, so Hieronymus, awesome. He's asked another question. As a Helix user, do you ever get overwhelmed by the options, and how do you deal with that? So, the first thing that I had was the HX Stomp, which I had about a year ago. And there's a video with me in front of a fireplace somewhere, and that's me playing with it for the first time. That was the HX Stomp, which isn't even as complicated as the Helix. And all I did to start off with was I put a looper, I think maybe 3 amps and a couple of drives. So I think I used the Archetype Clean, and yeah. And so that was the way that I tried to get into the unit, if you see what I mean. So I wasn't too overwhelmed. I agree, there is a lot in there. So my route was to just try and go get at it via like 3 amp models or something that I liked. And I guess that's kind of my advice for most of the things, is just initially try and find either 1 or 2 sounds that you like and do something with them. So create music. So over the course of the next year, I've experimented with, there's literally 1 IR that I use, and there's a couple of cab options with the stock cabs that I will use as well. But generally, I'll apply. So the way that I go at it is, I either have the sounds that I like to use already, and I just use them. So like for the jazz stuff, I have like 1 or 2 presets that I've set up that I just use. I don't tweak with them particularly at all. I just play guitar. And then there's my other thing, which is like I go, well, I'm going to use this 1 amp model for this session or whatever. And then I'll just take that and put it through my template, which has an IR that I know I like, and a cab that I know I like. And I'll go So I'll take like, I don't know, the Mesa Cali, Texas. I'll go, right, well, this is what I'm going to work with today. And then I might put a tube screamer in front of it because I know I like a tube screamer, or I might use the, I guess the Diana drive. It's the version of a Zen drive. But yeah, I I wouldn't say any stretch of the imagination that I've exhausted the options, and there's loads in there that I may never use. So that's what I try to do is go at it with like an aim, or you just try to play the sound that is naturally coming out to you. So like if it's like I might say, oh, I'm going to check out the AC30 models today, or this hour, or whatever I'm doing. I'll try not. I'm not trying to tweak it to sound like me or anything. I'm just trying to tweak it to sound like it's going to sound, and not fight it too much. So I'm not really doing EQ much at all. Not in special blocks anyway. I'll EQ with the tone stack, um, and I'll also use high and low cuts. But aside from that, I generally try and just keep it as it is, because otherwise you're just going to spend a lot of time EQing, and to me that's not really what I play guitar for. Um, to move around EQ blocks, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, does that answer that at all? I think it was a lot of rambling. Sorry. Daniel, yeah, says woof. Woof back. There's no dogs in here at the moment. They're downstairs. You can probably hear them. If you got any other Helix questions or Ajax Stomp questions, shoot. Hopefully that answered it in a semi-sensible way. I guess, yeah. So yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed by options, come at it from a different angle. So you might go, oh, I'm going to try and do an Eric Johnson tone today. So that's what I did the other day. And I found one of my presets, which was an Alan Holdsworth preset, and I thought, well, that I know they've got something similar going on in their sound where it's smooth in its gain, its delay. So I'm going to try and modify this to sound more like what I hear in my head for this other aspect. And that's another way to go in, and you're not overwhelmed by options then, because you're literally just focusing on trying to get one sound out of it. If that makes sense. Cool. Right. So I hope that's been vaguely interesting in some way. Again, if you'd like to leave in the comments ideas for how to improve this nonsense, or other questions about pedals or gear, or how to stop spending all your money on gear, or how to spend all your money on gear, whatever those things you're wanting to do are, feel free to ask, or about guitar stuff. Yeah, I'm hoping to try and make these live streams useful, but at the start they're a bit useless. All right, Dan, answer this. Do I keep some guitars set up differently? Yes. So the K line has Pitbull 10s on it. The Sir has 10s on it. That Strat, the black Strat, which you can't see there, has 10s on it. but I also like to keep Strat around with 11s on it because it feels a bit more like you're playing guitar in a way. I feel like 11s are a bit tighter. I have one jazz guitar which has 13s on it, which is in drop D, which I kind of dig. I have another jazz guitar which has flat wounds on it, which are again about 13. And what have I got? Another one with 10s on it, I think. So yeah, I don't have like a setup preference. I guess my action's not too low, not too high. As long as it doesn't buzz, I'm probably happy with the guitar. And as long as the strings are above a 10 or a 10 or above, I'm generally happy. But yeah, I'd like to keep everything generally in standard, or there's that one which is a tone down. But yeah, set up different. I just like them to play as they're going to play, and not with low action. So does that answer that a bit? Possibly. Don't have an issue with like medium action is probably where I would say most of my guitars are. Because I don't play slide guitar, there's nothing high. Okay, so another question from Hieronymus. Is there a trick in the Helix HX Stomp to match guitars to your presets, e.g. make the preset work for all your guitars? Not that I've found. The main issue being that mostly I play low output single coil pickups. So if I pick up a Les Paul, it's everything just so like the cleans are no longer clean. So I haven't found a trick to that. I guess what you could try doing is you could try putting like a volume block at the start or something that you engage and then disengage. But no, I've not found a trick so far. But so what I would do is if like I have actually done this, I've made a couple of presets specifically that I would be happy to play my Les Paul through. I don't think there's really a way around that I know of, just because single coils and humbuckers they're quite a different vibe. Like a humbucker generally is going to have less top end and it's going to have more mids. Compresses quicker, so they are quite different pickups, quite a different sound. So I'm not sure that you'd be able to. Something I could try actually at a later stage, but again, like a one size fits all kind of preset. I've not found a trick for that. However, most of my guitars are tellies and strats, so they tend to work anyway. Actually, a preset that works for a humbucker. What am I saying? I guess so. There's my jazz presets, which I did set up with the D'Angelico or a humbucker guitar in mind, so the neck humbucker with the tone rolled off. Those still work nicely with the Strat, but the other way around is not true, if you see what I mean. So like a preset that I actually made for a Strat, when I put a Les Paul through it's generally not clean. If I'm playing the clean part of the preset, that snapshot, it will be overdriven, which is obviously not what the plan was. I guess another thing you do is to roll off the volume. That might do something, but in general, no, not found a solution to that. Right, I've got to go do some stuff. So thank you for watching. If you want to do a like or subscribe thing, please leave comments and let me know how I can make this better. What am I currently gassing for? At the moment, nothing particularly. I've got a Mesa amp on the way, but I'll let you know more about that when I know more about that. But I think that'll be in the new year that arrives now. There's some other things that I don't know if I'm allowed to say about, but if you Google Yamaha custom shop guitar, you can see some cool stuff which I really like the look of. gas pedal wise. I'm kind of interested in trying out the J Rocket, the Dude, because I've not tried one of them yet. Aside from that, maybe a Keeley Monterey, but this is what I mean. Like, if you get into this rabbit hole, you can just end up buying loads and loads and loads of stuff and not play that much guitar. So actually, yeah, my list isn't that long at the moment, is it? So there's a Yamaha custom shop guitar, maybe it'd be kind of interesting, maybe, probably won't happen, doesn't matter. Keeley Monterey fuzz might be quite cool, but again, I've got a fuzz that I'm happy with, so I'm probably not going to try that. What was the other thing I said? J Rocket, the Dude, or the Melody, but there's not loads of stuff, so I guess that's a good place. Sergio Rodriguez said, congrats on the channel, thank you. Said, I sold everything I didn't use, which is, again, what I would encourage you to do in a way, if you need money. If you don't, then just leave it, it's fine. But if there's pedals that I have hanging around that I don't use or I don't like, I quickly get rid of them, just because I don't really like having them sitting there doing nothing, and probably someone else could get some use out of them, even if I can't. So he said, yeah, I've got one great amp, 4 or 5 pedals, 2 electric guitars, an acoustic, and the HX Stomp, less distractions, more playing, which is, again, what I think is the aim. I don't think anyone's making bad gear particularly. I'm probably going to do another video about this. Obviously, no company's going to intentionally make bad gear, but there are gear matches that don't necessarily go. So it's kind of cool to try stuff, let it into your scenario and see if it works for you. But if it doesn't, then just quickly move it on is generally my policy. So, for instance, I had a Boss DM2 Waza, which I really didn't dig, so that's gone. And I had Electro Harmonix C9 or K9 probably, which did like it's supposed to do the keys kind of thing, like sound like a Rhodes keyboard. It doubles up your guitar with that. I got rid of that because it didn't do anything that I liked. So, yeah, I feel like it's fine to get rid of stuff that's not really working for you. And I'm probably going to sell the Boss SD ones, at least one of them, because I literally bought that just to do a comparison. I don't need 2 of them hanging around. The pickup rabbit hole, yeah. So this is one that I don't want to go down at all, because, not as in something I don't want to cover. So this is Hieronymus' question or comment. There's also the pickup rabbit hole. Yeah. So I can't really use a soldering iron particularly well, and also that seems to be like an endless thing, where with pickups, surely there's not that much variability if it's a single coil low output. To me, and I was reading something about the John Mayer Big Dipper pickups on this, and I don't know whether a lot of that stuff seems to be marketing stuff. So I generally keep everything stock, or they're the guitars that I build myself. I just find some pickups that I like the sound of. So Fender Custom Shop 69s I like, but I wouldn't change any other guitar pickups unless they weren't working for me. I've got some Algory Frigid Haze pickups, which are the same sort of vibe on a guitar that I made. But again, I wouldn't change another guitar and switch them out. And the K-Line, which is my favourite guitar, has Lola Dirty Blondes, but again, they just came stock. Maybe one day I might change the pickups in my Les Pauls or put a coil split in there, because you may not know that I don't really like the way that humbuckers sound. I find them difficult to play in if they're driven, because it doesn't seem to have like the dynamics that I want. But I don't find it that fun a topic or that interesting to get down, because it literally is not even playing, is it? You're changing pickups. So get some pickups that work for you by all means. But yeah, the brake angle on the K line. I don't think you'd notice it if no one told you about it. But I think it's to avoid like the shims. I think they're called shims, but like little pieces of wood that you might find if you've open a guitar neck, broken open. If you unsplit and took it off, like I found one on my Tokai Gold Star, but they put like a little shim to make the angle whatever, one way or another. Like the fenders have tilt. There's a fender there, but it's got a tilt in the back, which is the same sort of thing, so you can adjust that. So I don't find it noticeable, and the guitar plays nicely. And here's a dog. There's his Fenton. And I hope that answers those questions. And anyway, I'm going to go play some guitar. Right, thanks guys. And again, leave some comments and let me know what was useless about this, what was helpful. Yeah, and the goal of the channel is not to get you just to spend endless money on stuff. Hopefully it's to find useful comparisons. Yeah, let me know what you reckon. Cheers then. Cheers Daniel. And cheers Hieronymus. And cheers, whoever asked questions, Lady in Red.